Thank you for listening to Life Improvement Radio. You are listening to a rebroadcast of a previously recorded show.
We're live at the Miami Book Fair, powered by Life Improvement Radio on the Total Education Network, TotalTutor.net for more information, Twitter, Total Tutor, Neil S. Haley, Facebook with Author's Corner with Eric from Life Improvement Radio. And Eric, you keep moving on. I guess the stream was getting a little busy today with all the people listening live.
Yeah, we're getting a little bogged down. We had a bunch of listeners on, but I redirected some servers. We're good now, and we're ready to rock and roll. And I'm having fun being your sidekick here today.
I feel for you because anytime you have to kind of take care of the trouble, and then I get the opportunity to interview the guest a little bit more. But I know that the last one you were really involved in, and this one's a very interesting author as well. So I want to welcome to the program Jim Reston, author of Accidental Victim. Jim, thanks for coming by the studio.
I'm delighted, yeah.
Absolutely. So you were saying it is an interesting atmosphere right now at the Miami Book Fair, right? With all the different authors running around, all the help and all the fans. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, and a lot of shows and a lot of music. And yeah, it's a really crazy scene, but delightful.
Absolutely, absolutely. And have you been involved in any discussions at the book fair?
No, I'm on in about another hour and 15 minutes.
What is your topic going to be?
This is a book about the JFK assassination.
Okay, great. So you're going to be on a panel with who else?
A gentleman that's written about the Warren Commission. He was a member of the Warren Commission staff. I think he's going to be arguing that they did everything right. And then dual authorship of a couple of guys who've written about Dallas 1963. So it should be quite an interesting conversation, yeah.
Yeah, I had the author from Dallas 1963 on, and he was fantastic. So you've found an area I'm really interested in talking about. So let's go to Accidental Victim and stuff like that, and the book, and why did you write it, first of all?
Well, I wrote a biography of John Connally of Texas back in 1989, and of course had to tarry for quite a long time in the story of the Dallas assassination. It's an utterly fascinating subject. It's got so many questions, so many levels of interest, and there's been an awful lot of mythology that's built up on that in the last 50 years. So I really felt with the 50th anniversary commemoration, I needed to go back and revisit some of the material that I had written back in 1989 and see if I could bore a lot deeper, see if I could bring to a level of certainty the theory that I began then, which was that Lee Harvey Oswald was basically going after John Connally and not after John Kennedy on that day.
Oh, wow. So that's Eric, that's a big surprise right off the bat, right?
It is, and I know there's been a lot of press lately with the anniversary of JFK and all these different things going on. What was it like building up to this book, to write this book? Did you have to do a lot of research?
Well, yes, absolutely. I mean, I had done a ton of research before, but apart from really wanting to kind of finish unfinished business from 1989, it really did appall me how the polls were running about the number of American people who believed that there was a conspiracy behind the killing of JFK, and I think that's absolutely ridiculous and needed to be debunked. So, with those two impulses, I really wanted to bore very deeply into this thing and become part of this conversation.
So you're going to be in quite an interesting discussion, like I said, with the other two people, because you disagree with one of them for sure, and possibly both of them, because the fact is that your idea is a conspiracy. Some people might think a conspiracy in itself, right? For sure.
Well, I don't think of it that way, certainly. It, if you get rid of all these silly ideas that LBJ did it, or the CIA did it, or Cuba or Russia, or God knows who, it brings you back down to the mindset of Lee Harvey Oswald and what would have impelled him on that day to pick up a rifle and shoot from that building. And what I got onto back in '89, but wasn't really able to prove in my own mind, was that Lee Harvey Oswald had a grudge and an obsession with John Connally, that went back to the change in his military discharge from honorable to dishonorable after he had gone to Russia. And he had appealed about this unfairness, and indeed it was an unfairness, actually, because he had served for 3 years in the Marine Corps and been honorably discharged, and his discharge was changed as a result of political activity subsequently. So he made his appeal to John Connally, who was then the Secretary of the Navy, and got a response from John Connally that came to him in Minsk, Russia, in an envelope in which the headshot of John Connally was emblazoned in a Texas star, and it was a classic Washington bureaucratic brush-off. So I think that began kind of his personalization and his obsession with Connally for all the difficulties that he had subsequently with trying to get work and support his family in Texas when he came home.
Jim, does anyone else believe what you think of what happened?
Well, I've been on this quest since September the 9th. I started in Dallas at SMU. I then went on the Today Show, and if you look on the web, there's been a ton of stuff in the last 2 months. I've had a lot of public events, almost every one to the person that has been at those events finds my argument convincing. So yes, I'm not a sole believer in this thesis.
Eric, I didn't hear about this one. Did you know about this one?
No, I had not, and I'm just kind of curious. Like, what's been your response from the book? Has it been positive, negative? Have people agreed or disagreed?
I think it's been overwhelmingly positive when people get a chance to either read the book or listen to me lay the theory out. It has to do with basically what turns somebody into a pathological killer. What really engages their hate and their rage. And the fact of the matter is that Lee Harvey Oswald had absolutely nothing against John F. Kennedy. In fact, it is absolutely clear from the Warren Commission that Oswald admired Kennedy and admired the Kennedy presidency. So there is nothing emotional and deeply emotional that Oswald has against Kennedy, but he does have this obsession and grudge relating to John Connally. I mean, there are basically two things in Lee Harvey Oswald's life. One was that he had a 9th grade education, and the other was that he had gone through the Marine Corps and been honorably discharged. And so I think as you move from 1962 into 1963, he's really trapped by those two things, the bad paper and the 9th grade education, and life is really in a shambles for him. And he's blaming primarily John Connally, because Connally is a fellow Texan and fellow resident of Fort Worth, had the opportunity to redress this grievance as Oswald saw it. So there's something really deeply personal about this relationship.
Wow.
It's a quite an interesting story for sure, and the mind of Lee Harvey Oswald, understanding that the assassination should have been somebody else, not John F. Kennedy, and then you hear the conspiracy theories that go further and further. So it keeps you busy, Jim, doesn't it? You got lots of opportunities for press and opportunities to interview, especially when other people come up with a new conspiracy theory.
Well, it's 50th year commemoration is important. I think it's really a kind of insult to the Kennedy legacy that the conversation seems to be dominated at this 50th by these conspiracy theories. We need to bring it back to what we can know, what we do know, and what we find convincing. And every one of these conspiracy theories that suggests that Lee Harvey Oswald was the agent or tool of somebody else absolutely falls flat on its face when you get to know who Lee Harvey Oswald was. because no mafia organization and no foreign government would ever have hired anybody so muddle-headed and wretched as this character.
Well, it was a great conversation talking with you, Jim. Where can we find information on you, purchase your book, and learn more about you? And I hope more success for the book and the opportunity for your message to get out there.
Thanks. It's published by a new publisher called Zola Books. It's available now in 3 platforms, as a hardcover, as an ebook, but also I've just Audible.com has just released a audio version of it, which I've narrated. So it's out there.
Well, I appreciate you coming by the studio. Best of luck. Have a good time the rest of the trip in Miami, and talk to you soon. Take care.
Good deal. Okay, bye.
You're listening to Author's Corner, powered by Life Improvement Radio, live from the Miami Book Fair. We'll be back in just a moment.
Thank you for listening to Life Improvement Radio. The views expressed by show hosts or their guests are their own and shall not be construed in any way as advice from Life Improvement Radio. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our website. Personal perspectives expressed by the producers, writers, or editors will always be presented as such. Any rebroadcast or retransmission without the expressed written consent of Life Improvement Radio is strictly prohibited. Thanks for listening.